I just want to give you the headlines because I think it's important for the
that you don't look deep within the story, and especially whatever you do not read the third paragraph of any news story because you'll often find it will directly contradict the headline itself.
overall picture. So I want to spend 20 minutes just to give you what has come out in the news.
Yes, 20 minutes. He's going to give it 20 minutes. This video is 16 minutes and 58 seconds.
The last 3 days since we last.
I don't know if you know this, but the hidden inside the infrastructure bill, the Democrats removed 4 minutes from the world. This was a 20-minute segment until that bill passed.
That. Holy mother. So.
He's not Catholic, by the way. He's Mormon.
We have more information about Dashenko. He is the guy who was the source, if you will, for...
If I will, you mean one of the sources? The guy who was in Putin's inner circle?
The Steele dossier. Okay? Everything that happened, all this Russian... collusion and, Donald Trump has a, really bad film from Russia that was made.
Yeah, he's got a really bad film from Russia. They did a reverse version of White Knights, but it wasn't dancing. It was about hockey. Sucked.
Aiden.
However, I did not know Donald Trump could ice skate, and neither did he.
He's, making it with prostitutes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, no one's ever made that case before.
That stuff. All of it now, we know, was not only false, but we know now that the FBI knew that in 20...
By the way, no, we do not. That is not the assertion at all.
17. Had a pretty good idea in 2016. In 2017, they were very clear on it.
No, they weren't.
They knew where it came from. And this guy is made into this Russian operative, and maybe he is, maybe he isn't.
Well, I think that would be the area where you would make a decision about whether this is valid. If he is, it is. If he isn't, it isn't. If you're in the maybe he is, maybe he isn't, then you can't write off the whole thing because you don't even give a fuck enough to figure it out on your own.
But he was at a liberal think tank. And he wasn't coming up with the stuff himself. He was being fed information from...
Yeah, he was hooked into Putin's inner circle. He knew them. He had an inside line.
A Clinton supporter. Somebody was on her campaign staff. So he didn't get it from Russia. He gets it from this guy.
All right. Let's see. Let's look that up. Let's see. Where's the... So let's see if he puts up the headline. He hasn't done that yet.
All of this now lays right at the feet of Hillary Clinton. Was this a coup? You can make...
If it was, it didn't work because she lost.
Case that this was a coup of sorts. They were trying to overthrow his presidency. If this was happening in any other country, we would say it was a failed state.
No, we would not. We would just say there's political intrigue between parties. Why the fuck would you say it's a failed state?
When a major party can use the government apparatus and the media apparatus to smear
or to hide
and to build a case against an innocent guy just to thwart him, and they all knew.
I thought innocent guy. I thought we were talking about Trump.
Washington Post knew in either 2017 or 2018 They knew, and yet they continued to win the Pulitzer. They continued the lies.
Where's the headline?
Okay, so that happened.
So I know
the F.
No, yeah. Okay, so that happened. No, it did not. Here, hold on one second. I don't know which headline he's referencing. One would think if you're going to go, I'm going to stitch these headlines together, maybe put them on fucking screen. Maybe say what they are. Let's see. Steele source indictment. This is and basically this is just Durham going after Trump's dude. Yeah, here it is. Igor Danchenko. This is what he's talking about. This is Durham, who Trump put behind to go after his political enemies, is doing that very thing. Steele dossier source arrested in Durham probe. Was he arrested for lying about the contents of the Steele dossier? Charged with 5 counts of false statements and an inquiry into the origins of the FBI Trump investigation. The special counsel probing the oranges. I did it. Trump. Of the investigation into ties between the 2016 campaign in Russia has brought false statement charges against a Washington-based foreign policy researcher and Russian immigrant who was a key source. Not the. A key source, all lowercase. A keys. A. Okay, all right. For an intelligence dossier that played an important role in the early stages of the FBI. Igor Danchenko was arrested Thursday in Northern Virginia on indictment that special counsel Durham obtained, charging the Russian-born researcher with 5 felony counts of making false statements to the FBI. Information from Danchenko was central element of the series of reports from a former British spy. Yes, but what are the? Obviously, they help fuel the FBI probe. Provide fodder for requests made to secret surveillance. Made to a secret surveillance court to obtain warrants to examine the communications of a former foreign policy advisor, Carter Page. By the way, the changes made to his FISA warrant made it less likely, not more likely, that they would continue to get a warrant against him. Fuck Carter Page. However, several claims in the dossier turned out to be false, prompting Congressional Inspector General and criminal investigations into how the reports were compiled and why the U.S. government gave them such credence. Several claims. Which ones aren't? And which ones are you arguing were? Okay, here we go. According to Durham or according to reality? At a brief hearing on Thursday afternoon, prosecutors did not ask Danchenko be detained as he awaits trial. Magistrate Judge Teresa Buchanan orders his release on $100,000 unsecured bond. Prosecutor said there was a plan for Danchenko to surrender on Thursday, but that because of a press leak, the FBI arrested the defendant instead. Prosecutors allege that in a series of interviews with the FBI, Danchenko fabricated details and altered the sequence of key events he described that related to the so-called dossier. The indictment also alleges that he was working closely with at least one individual close to Clinton's presidential campaign, and that Danchenko falsely denied having contact with that person. By the way, this is kind of an important word. Why do you think Durham is there? To poke holes and split. Danchenko was first identified as Steele source amid a Senate Republican investigation that culminated in the final weeks of last year's presidential election. Then Senate Judiciary Lindsey Graham released the transcript of an interview Danchenko conducted with the FBI in January 27, in which he revealed that some of the most explosive allegations of Steele dossier were based on hearsay and rumor. The transcript, exactly. That's why they're, this is things I've heard. This is why these are not verified. That was the problem with them. It's intel. The transcript, there was not an indictment. The Steele dossier was not an indictment. It was background material, what word on the street was, what sources said. They didn't, and by the way, the Clinton campaign didn't run with it because they couldn't double verify a lot of these things, and they thought they were going to win anyways. The transcript was declassified, though Graham didn't identify Danchenko when he released the redacted interview summary. The document included enough identifying it was quickly revealed as a source. Around that time, Graham released another document, also declassified by Barr, that included a synopsis of counterintelligence investigation the FBI conducted into Danchenko from 2009 to 2011. The probe included an examination of whether Danchenko sought to obtain classified information on Russia's behalf, but it was closed without any findings, and Danchenko was continued to reside in the United States. Okay. Yet Trump's allies pointed the closed investigation to label Danchenko a spy and accused Democrats and the FBI of weaponizing Russian disinfo. New indictment does not allege that Danchenko was working for the Russian government or Russian interests, but it hints that he might have been. The charges say that, well, that's Yes, that's what you want to do in an indictment. Hint at things. The charges say in June 2016, public relations executive and Democratic activist, wrote an email that said of Danchenko, he's too young for KGB, but I think he worked for the FSB. Since he told me he spent 2 years in Iran, and when I first met him, he knew more about me than I did, winking emoticon. The PR executive who offered the candid assessment of Danchenko goes unnamed in the indictment, but he's the longtime Democratic activist, Russia's relations expert Chuck Dolan Jr. An attorney for Dolan confirmed on it. Chuck understands and appreciates your interest. I confirm that he is PR executive number 1 in the indictment. As he is a witness in an ongoing case, it would be inappropriate for him to. Okay, Dolan is not charged the case. Served 1990. The more Dolan stuff. That's the dude he was working with. Let's see. Then they could have been very concerned. In that case, I'll waive electronic monitoring. They released him. Ordered Danchenko to stay away from possible witnesses in the case, unlike Marge and Gohmert. As Danchenko left a lawyer for him did not immediately respond to request. Third person to face criminal charges. Here's a good idea. Let's look at, and I know this is going to drag out, the indictment. On or about that, they opened Crossfire Hurricane into Donald Trump, coordinating activities with it. Beginning in or about July 16th through December 26th, the FBI received a series of reports from a former British employee, UK Person 1, that contained derogatory information on then-candidate concerning his reported ties, the company reports. Why is it called the company report? That's it. Earlier that year, it's not the Steele dossier, or that's the code for it. Earlier that year, a U.S.-based international law firm acting as counsel to Hillary Clinton campaign had retained a U.S.-based investigative firm, that'd be Fusion GPS, I guess, to conduct research on Trump and his associates in or about 2016. And by the way, they bought the Steele dossier was already being crafted by Fusion GPS for the Washington Free Beacon, I think. They bought it off them because the Washington Free Beacon decided to back Trump. And his UK-based firm, to investigate Trump's purported ties to Russia. During the later, he employs the company reports played an important role in applications that FBI personnel prepared and submitted to obtain warrants pursuant to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, targeting a United States citizen who'd been an advisor. This is about Carter Page. Most of the reports said they didn't, but we'll take Durham as his indictment. This is what he's putting. In connection with the FBI Crossfire Hurricane investigation, the later investigation by Robert Mueller, the FBI relied substantially on the company reports in these FISA applications to assert probable cause against Advisor 1 was a witting agent of the Russian Federation. That's Carter Page. It obtained a total of 4 court-approved FISA applications targeting Advisor 1, which authorized intrusive electronic surveillance of him from in or about October 26th through September 2017. Each of the FISA applications set forth the FBI has known Russia further alleged the company led the idea was a well-coordinated conspiracy of cooperation between Trump's campaign. Based on it, they thought that was true. Over time, FBI attempted to investigate, vet, and analyze company reports, but ultimately was not able to confirm or corroborate most. So they were able to confirm or corroborate some of them. Which ones? Maybe you should list those in the indictment. I would love to hear which ones they were able to substantiate. In the context of these efforts, the FBI learned that UK Person 1 relied primarily on a U.S.-based Russian national, Igor Danchenko, the defendant herein, to collect the information. Okay, so he wasn't making it up necessarily, but he got it. That ultimately formed the core of the allegations found in the company reports. From in or about the 2017th, and part of the several Danchenko, as alleged in further detail, he lied to the FBI agents during these interviews. Let's see, regarding had provided, several interviews of Danchenko regarding, among other things, the information that Danchenko had provided to UK Person 1, collectively, the interviews. First, Danchenko stated falsely that he had never communicated with a particular U.S.-based individual who was a longtime participant in Democratic politics and was an executive at the U.S. public relations firm. And that's probably the dude who said, yeah, that was him. About any allegations contained in the company reports. In truth, well-knew sourced one or more specific allegations in company reports anonymously to PR Executive 1. PR Executive 1's role as a contributor of information was highly relevant and material to the FBI's evaluations of reports because PR Executive 1 maintained pre-existing and ongoing relationships with numerous persons named or described in the company report. So they were involved. They knew people in Russia as well. They'd been dealing with Russia, and they were talking back and forth about stuff, including one of Danchenko's Russian sub-sources detailed below. Very exciting. PR Executive 1 maintained historical and ongoing involvement in Democratic politics, which bore upon PR Executive 1's reliability, motivations, and potential bias as a source of information for the company reports. That doesn't mean they're false. That just means that that's the angle they're taking, that they have to be taken with a grain of salt because that person is obviously got a bone to pick with Trump because they're aware of what kind of human being he is. Gathered some of the information contained in the reports as at events in Moscow, organized by PR Executive 1. Okay, so that wouldn't be stuff that he carried there, but he got him over there or something. And others that Danchenko attended at PR Executive 1's invitation. So he got him into these places. Indeed, as alleged below, certain allegations provided UK Person 1, which appeared in the company reports, mirrored and/or reflected information that PR Executive 1 himself also had received through his own interactions with Russian nationals. Yeah, they all talked about it. It's only a big secret over here. Of course there's a PP tape, is the thing. Second, Danchenko stated falsely during the interviews that in or about late July, he received an anonymous phone call from an individual who Danchenko believed to be a particular U.S. citizen and who was then president of the Russian-American Chamber of Commerce, Chamber President 1, because of all the other chamber presidents. Also falsely stated that during his phone call, the person he believed to be Chamber 1 informed him in part about information that company reports later described as demonstrating a well-developed conspiracy of cooperation. Between the Trump campaign, Danchenko and information and truth and fact, as Danchenko well knew, never received such a phone call or such information from any person he believed to be Chamber Person 1. So he's a paid source and he was padding his sources. He was padding what he was given to steal. But he was padding it with stuff that they already knew from other sources. Danchenko never made any arrangements to meet him. Rather, he fabricated these facts regarding him. As alleged in further detail, all of Danchenko's lies were material to the FBI because, among other reasons, the investigation of the Trump campaign relied largely on the company reports to obtain FISA warrants on advisor number 1. Well, the source on this one, and by the way, that's still alleged because that wasn't the primary finding. They didn't rely fully on those. But let's just say they got them from this other source and they knew that people would go, well, that guy works with the Democrats. He can't be trusted. Doesn't mean the stuff's false still. The FBI ultimately devoted substantial resources attempting to investigate and corroborate the allegations, including the reliability of his subsources. Oh, so they looked into these things. They checked the reliability. They did their job. And the company reports, as well as information collected by reports of Danchenko, played a role in the FBI's investigative decisions and in sworn representations the FBI made to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court through the relevant time period. So as they checked on it, at all times relevant to this indictment he was a citizen of Russia, lawfully in the United States, resided in Washington, 2005 to 2010. By the way, are you going to get inside information about Trump's shit in Russian from non-Russians? Worked as an analyst at a think tank 1, where he focused primarily on Russia, Eurasian geopolitical matters, you think. UK Person 1, you guys, all times relevant indictment was a Virginia-based public relations firm. That's the Fusion GPS thing, I think. Had served as a chamber of the Democratic political national, state chairman of a former President Clinton's 92-96 presidential campaigns and advisor to Hillary Clinton's 2008 president. Moreover, beginning in and around 1997, appointed PR Executive 1 to 2 4-year terms as an advisory commission of the U.S. State Department. With respect to the 2016, okay, his role as public relations. Okay, that's the guy. That's not Danchenko. That's the guy he was talking to. Let's see. Beginning, and he went to the thing at the Moscow hotel. To that end, the October conference included individuals who could provide insight into the economic, political, diplomatic, and cultural aspects of the Russian Federation. That's kind of important. Organizer 1 enlisted him to participate in that conference. His ability to set up meetings with senior Russian government officials, provide analysis of the 2016 thing in preparation. They put a planning trip. Shortly after, asked him to assist him in conference, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they were looking for stuff in Russia. He is too young for that. That's where that part is. Winking emoticon. FSB is the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation. PR1 also attended a meeting with Russian embassy on the September 14, 2016. He did not attend those meetings. Okay. Unless he lied about it, which would be, I guess, germane to this. Visited PR executive. This is just basically you can't trust him because he was hanging around with people who didn't trust Trump either. Maintain communications with the Russian national, that's his subsource 1, based in a foreign country 1, who, according to him, act as one of his primary sources of information, and Russian subsource one initially met as children in Russia and remained friends thereafter. Began a business in Country One, Business One, that was owned by a Russian national and would later appear in company reports. Okay, so they knew each other. Interbound in 2016, Danchenko learned Russian subsource one was interested. U.S.-based public relations firm assisted, brokered a meeting with him, set them up, and they all talked about it. Okay, yeah. This is all like just because these are your gossip sources. Half it's going to be PR, half it's going to be inside spies. What do you think? Like, track all the spy interactions between people and chart it on paper. It's all going to look like this. Stated in part, I am preparing for information on USSR, USC countries. Igor possibly told you about that. Tomorrow, your country is having a great day. So is big Hillary fan. Wish her and all the supporters have a victory day. Hope that someday her book will have one more autograph in it. Thanks for your support. Subsource one. Chamber president. Yeah, I mean, they didn't act on the report because they didn't think they'd need to because they thought they were going to win. And then they were like, holy shit, this guy won, and he did all this shit. An American political figure associated with Donald Trump and his campaign outlined reasons behind recent demise. Ukraine revelation. What was this part? The allegation in the company report stated, close associate of Trump explains reasoning behind campaign manager's recent resignation. Ukraine revelations played part, but others wanted out for certain reasons, especially who remains influential. Speaking separately, also in 2016, an American political figure associated with Trump and his campaign outlined the reasons behind the recent demise. He said, it was true that Ukraine corruption revelations played a part in this, but also several senior players close to Trump had wanted that person out, primarily to loosen his control on strategy and policy formulation. Of particular importance in this regard was predecessor's campaign manager, personally remained close to Trump, with whom he discussed presidential campaign on a regular basis. All that stuff bore out because of Rudy and Lev and Igor. Any thought, rumor, allegation I'm working on a related project against Trump? Let's see. Could you please ask someone to comment on this? Off the record, of course. I asked 3 months ago. He didn't say much. They're just gonna. Is this Igor and Lev or this Igor Danchenko? Hi, I had a drink with Gio Perman, who knows some of the players. Some of this article, she told me that who hates so and so still speaks to Trump regularly, played a role. He is said to be doing a happy dance over it. I think the bottom line, in addition to the Ukraine revelations, a number of people wanted campaign so and so gone. It's very sharp elbows crowd. Okay. Anyways. We'll take it that was the Washington Post article. That proves no such thing.
I also is the victim in that one. I just want you to know. They say they were duped. Now, the FBI also went out and tried to find a lost diary this weekend.
A lost diary? They went out and tried to find a lost diary. Let's see. I'll find it. Hold on. Holding. Let's see. Biden. Let's see. Biden daughter diary. That's what he's talking about. FBI searches Project Veritas associates in probe over diary purportedly belonging to Biden's daughter. Took place Thursday. One in an apartment on the 35th Street in New York City. Another at home in Mamaroneck, New York. The FBI confirmed Friday. This is what he's referring to. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Now, this one, you helped me out. I was reading Jonathan Turley's opinion on this weekend, and he's right.
Did you read anybody else's opinion on it, or just Jonathan Turley's?
This is an absolute over-the-line abuse of justice. And the FBI needs to be called into account from the Senate, from the House.
Yeah, I think you just want them dismantled, right? And by the way, Turley's article is is on Fox News. They're the ones carrying it. Says FBI, here it is. Derp. Says FBI's involvement in alleged theft of Ashley Biden's diary raises legitimate concern. George Washington University Law said Monday that the FBI's investigation of the alleged theft of a diary belonging to President Biden's daughter raises legitimate concern over the first family's connection to the Bureau. It's a federal case. It's meant to be subterfuge to attack the family of the president. It's not a simple local theft. Part of the New York Times reported the raid took place. Okay, why would the FBI coming into this? Asked on America Reports. Yeah, why didn't the local cops raid my place? Project Veritas said it didn't run the information and notified local enforcement, so there's legitimate concern when the FBI becomes involved in this type of story as to whether it's going outside of those navigational beacons that we used to judge or whether they acted independently. He's always been a trustworthy fellow. Addressed the incident on Monday, explaining the tipsters approached his group last year, alleging to have Ashley Biden's diary containing explosive allegations about her father, then the Democratic nominee, and that the diary was allegedly abandoned in a room where she stayed. The tipsters claimed they stayed in the same room afterwards where they found the diary. The tipsters, who O'Keefe said he never met prior, were apparently negotiating with media outlets to sell Biden's diary, and that ultimately they did not publish the book's contents because his group was not able to independently verify its authenticity. Turley said the FBI's curious involvement reminds him of recent reporting revealing Secret Service intervened in Biden's time as vice president after his son, the handgun, I lied, silly. A lot of people asked at that time, why would the FBI be involved in that if that's true? Does raise questions about the promise made by the Biden administration that is going to be more careful when dealing with media figures. If people are shopping... It isn't even the diary at that point. This has nothing to do with the diary. This has to do with a plot to attack our elections by stealing things. The fact that it's a diary is sort of immaterial in this. But,
And the people. You've already destroyed your credibility, FBI. Now, here's what happened. Do you remember a story about a year ago, I think, that there was a diary from Joe Biden's daughter? And in it, she had said that she had taken inappropriate showers with her father when she was young. She also said...
Oh, well, she didn't also say. The book they gave out or were saying was hers allegedly said that. Now, if I got a hold of your diary and I wanted to, I was working with somebody, I wanted to bring down a president or stop a campaign... finding somebody who does a fairly decent job forging your handwriting, and then going in and finding any, missing, like a page you didn't write much on, or the backside of a page, and just going, no. Yeah, we'll just basically construct it like that, and then we'll just sell the whole thing. Who's going to know what's real and what's fake? And by the time they figure it out, it's all over.
I don't think it says the abuser, but she also said she was abused sexually, I think by a family member, but it doesn't pin it on Joe Biden. So there was some sort of sexual problems going on, and there were showers with daddy. Also, in that diary, she talks about how she and the other...
Again, this is like the Hunter Biden laptop. They're just floating on this, it allegedly says in this book that's allegedly hers.
Children of the family resent dad so much because of the way he controls all of the money.
Yeah, that's how it seems to be, since they all talked him into running.
Which goes right to the Hunter laptop, which we now know is true.
No, we don't know it's true. It's fake. It doesn't exist. Show me a picture of it, asshole.
True. Well, they denied that this diary had anything like that. There was no, that's not true. All of this is just gobbledygook. Really?
Right.
Well, the FBI broke into several members of the Project Veritas staff
Yeah, related to this story from last year where they said they had this thing because an attempted forgery to attack a presidential campaign in the country is a violation of the law. Shopping it around or attempting to float these ideas or seeding these ideas out using this fake document, if they're forging someone's information, that would bring the FBI. That would bring them to your door.
Their homes this weekend, searching for anything related to the to the diary.
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, they don't physically exist. So
now here's what happened with the diary. The diary, according to Project Veritas, was from an anonymous tipster that said, "Hey, this diary is here. It was left behind.
Yeah, that happens.
Just go get it."
Yeah, they picked it up when they Airbnb'd the Biden house.
Okay, well, all right. It would be really hard.
Yeah, she took it to there's a blind diary repair shop.
To believe that if that hadn't just happened
with the Hunter Biden laptop.
Exactly right.
Maybe this is just.
Yeah, it's maybe it's the same bullshit story because everything's a reboot and nothing worked.
Something this family does.
Yes.
They leave really important documents
Correct.
in very strange places.
Or, if you don't want to use Occam's rubber mallet, Rudy Giuliani paid $5 million for a hard drive from Ukraine that he pawns off as being from a laptop that belonged to Hunter with this whole bullshit story. Remember, the original laptop was supposedly found at the home of a shrink that worked for Fox News, but then he was busted for drugging and diddling his patients, so they had to cook up the blind repair shop story. And it worked so well, they're like, hey, let's shop this shit.
Okay, so they left the diary behind. Project Veritas goes and gets it. They do not publish the story because they can't verify that the diary is actually hers.
But that won't stop Glenn Beck from quoting it as if it is.
Okay.
You know, because he's a Mormon and that's what they do. That's right, Mormons. You own the worst of you. This is how Mormons roll now.
So they turn it over to the police. Now, this is a year ago. And you might remember this story because it made just a little blip. Nobody in the mainstream media was willing to touch it. Well, now we know that the diary is real because the White House had the Justice Department and the FBI break down the doors of these people's houses on Saturday morning.
Is that why? Because it was real? Or because this was part of another fabricated thing that they were intending on leaking through this? And they have multiple copies of it, and it turns out to be a forgery, and that's the crime itself. And they also go, hey, this is James O'Keefe's handwriting.
And they were looking for anything related to that diary. Now, may I ask, what is the federal crime that would have been committed here with a diary? If
it would be forgery, attempted, I guess, let's see. Technically, if they gave it to law enforcement saying it was that thing and they made it themselves, and there was reason to believe after the FBI looked at it, they're like, no, they crafted this. The idea was that they made a forgery, they made copies of it, they gave it to law enforcement saying that someone had given it to them, but they copied it, and then they kept the copy and they went, this is a copy of the thing we gave to law enforcement. They haven't talked about it ever since because they're hiding it. When they really made it up themselves, that would be lying to law enforcement and defrauding them and forgery. And I mean, there's a bunch of charges.
daughter loses her diary and it has bad things in it about me, Is the FBI going to investigate and kick down the doors of maybe some boy in high school that took it from her? I don't think so. Since when is that a federal crime? Now, if it had things.
Right. However, forging it and giving it to the authorities and saying that somebody else gave it to you and then having a copy of it that you photocopied or what have you, that you were going to selectively leak out or manipulate or those kind of things, and they figure out that that's a forgery and that the forgery wasn't from somebody else. They looked into it. Turns out it didn't come from a tipster or an outside source, that you were the one shopping it around. That would be one of the reasons why they would kick your door in.
Where I was abusing her and they needed that for evidence, I could see, but that's not what they were doing.
Well, I mean, I would argue that my version of events is far more plausible than your lunacy.
So the FBI is completely out of control. The ATF also, we found out this weekend.
Well, it's weird because I guess the judge that gave them the warrant is also out of control. And it was multiple sites. So they got okay, hold on. Let's see. So it's the FBI and federal prosecutors in Manhattan. O'Keefe confirmed Tuesday's previous report about two other raids, releasing a video message addressing his group's apparent ties to the diary and declaring Project Veritas came under attack. I woke to the news that apartments and homes of Project Veritas journalists and former journalists, Why did they leave or get quit? What happened there? Why are they former? What's former? Had been raided by FBI agent. It appears the SDNY now has journalists in their sights for supposed crime of doing their jobs lawfully and honestly, or at least this journalist. Well, apparently not. They didn't take you into custody yet. We do not know how the New York Times was aware of the execution of the search warrant at our reporter's home, or the subject matter of the search warrant, as a grand jury investigation is secret. The FBI took materials of current former Project Veritas journalists, despite the fact that our legal team previously contacted. You do realize that SDNY, if they roll out, if the marshals roll out, all the big newspapers, all the big media guys in New York have somebody sitting on that all the time, either talking to somebody there, like, you guys rolling today? Where are you rolling? I can't tell you, but we're rolling. That kind of stuff. Or literally parked outside. The FBI took materials of current former Project Veritas journalists, despite the fact that our legal team previously contacted the DOJ and voluntarily conveyed unassailable facts that demonstrate Project Veritas' lack of involvement in criminal activity or criminal intent. Well, apparently not. Apparently they were assailable. Our efforts were the stuff of responsible ethical journalism, and we are in no doubt that Project Veritas acted properly at each and every step. Apparently not. Tipsters brought the guru to the K. That's the tipster story. Gave the diary to law enforcement to ensure it could be returned to its rightful owner. We never published it. Now Miss Biden's father's Department of Justice. Well, it's the U.S. Department of Justice. But it was the SDNY that went after you because a crime was committed in Manhattan, it seems. Specifically, the United States Attorney's Office for the and the Manhattan District Attorney appears to have investigated the situation, claiming the diary was stolen. Yeah, you were stolen goods ended up in your hands, and apparently what they're probably having a hard time finding is the quote-unquote tipster. We don't know if it was, but it begs the question, in what world is the alleged theft of a diary investigated by the president's FBI and his Department of Justice a diary? Well, if you lied about, you turned it over because you sent somebody to steal it and they were caught or witnessed or what have you, and you decided to save your ass by turning it in. You turned it in only after you're like, dude, they got wind. They know we took it. We know we stole it. Well, we can't make a copy and then we'll turn it in.
has obtained 54 million gun records. 54 million gun records. Apparently, when any business, any
That's all?
gun business goes out of business, they have to turn their records that are 20 years old. They can destroy them. The Fed now is taking the gun records and they're keeping them and they're digitizing them so you can run them for names. This is
Or serial numbers for straw purchases. So fucking what? Every other thing you buy, there's a record of it for fucking ever.
federal registry now.
No, it isn't. Because after 20 years, you may not have it anymore. You may have sold it to a friend.
They are going to the small gun owners are gun
well-regulated militia, fucko.
are going to be forced out of business. Mark my words, they're all going to go out of business. And so every record that they have will be in the hands of the federal government. You tie this to the IRS spying on your bank account, they've got everything they need.
Well, I mean, only if you're a bank robber, I suppose.
Should they decide to misuse it. But that would be crazy.
I'm a big fan of when run-of-the-mill record keeping is the same thing as them taking a DNA sample and creating a duplicate of you out of pig cells.
We have the Rittenhouse trial that happened. I've got to go over with you today. It's astounding. The prosecution's case and
sounds like a prosecution's case.
Prosecution's witness. I don't know if the prosecution knows what that word means. You're not supposed to come up with things that exonerate the guy you're calling a bad guy, but that's what they did. They put two witnesses on that disproved the state's case. Why?
Because they had to. Because there were elements they were making. They're going to make a case that of malice aforethought. They're trying to get these charges to pass because of that somehow Rittenhouse knew he was going to run into this trouble and they're going to try and run this. It's not going to work, but that he put himself in danger on purpose so that he could Bernard Goetz himself. It's a Bernard Goetz kind of a thing. Bernard Goetz carried the gun around and he sat in the subway longer than he would have, waiting for somebody to fuck with him, and it was almost like entrapment. And then it was overkill. That's what they're going to do. It's going to fail, but that's the plan. And they need to bring these guys on to put them in place. They can erase basically the elements that don't fit for them in their theory based on the idea that it was malice aforethought. Like I said, it's not going to work. But when they put those people on the stand, because they're there, the defense is going to put them on the stand for sure. So if the prosecution puts them on the stand, then makes the case, then they can kind of draft it their way and deal with the effect of the questioning and cross-examination based on that. That's why.
Wildest dreams of the prosecution, would you put these two guys on up as witnesses where they're like, no, that's not what.
Because the defense was going to fucko, and they think they can take control of it earlier and drift the narrative. Certain witnesses are going to be there. It's one thing when stuff is like debatable or there's like a controversy about it stuff, but when run-of-the-mill legal bullshit goes into like, what do you think that means? It's like, just fuck off with this nonsense. Understood.
So now we know
I need to go too.
that the persecution of Kyle Rittenhouse
he's a wordsmith.
Is just that. They have nothing on this guy. Biden came out this weekend and he said, no. The payout thing, you remember that thing that I said was a garbage term? Do we still have that from last week? He was asked about, do we have,
Yeah, he said 450,000 or $1 million is garbage. Not that there might not be payments to these folks, but the idea that they're talking about $450,000 a piece is what he's talking
We don't
about.
have it at our fingertips. No big deal, Sarah. He was asked, hey, what about paying 450,000 people?
450,000 people? You mean less than 600 people who lost their children?
$450,000 to people who just came across our border during the Trump administration, and maybe up to $1 million. And he was very adamant. It's a garbage story. And Stu said, I think he's arguing about the 450,000.
The exact dollar amount, because the way he answered.
Yeah. It's going to be less than that because we have to settle with those folks because they could sue the United States for tens of millions.
He's very specific.
Guys, like we've gone through this whole thing with the Rittenhouse thing. People like, he murdered 2 people, it's murder. That's the point of the trial, and they're never going to find it. It was self-defense. He fled. It was it's going to come down to self-defense. You can believe it was murder. He intended to go out there. That's not even the point. What can they get him on? We've had this conversation. I don't know why people think this is even arguable.
And kind of looks at him and says, you said $450,000 per person, right? $450,000 per person. That's garbage.
Okay. Well, he's obviously, some medication makes him really, really angry at times, because he just flew off the handle on Saturday when he was asked about this, because the White House said
he flew off the handle, did he? When he was like, that's garbage. Come on, man. That's flying off the handle.
No. He was wrong. It is going through. They're going to settle these cases.
So they said it might not be $450,000. Yeah.
So,
right. Why are they having to settle these cases, guys? Why would there be a legal settlement around these cases? Why would anyone have a case that their kid is fucking gone? You don't think in an international court or even in the U.S. court you don't have a case against and by the way, Trump's going to dodge it because he was president when it happened. And by the way, Glenn Beck wants you to think he's pro-life and fuck these kids. It's funny. It's funny to Stu. It's funny to Stu and it's funny to him. 545 missing fucking kids. Gone. Where are they? Where are they?
here's what he said. Listen to this, what he said Saturday.
You said last week that this report about migrant families at the border getting payments was garbage.
No, I didn't say that. Let's get it
Yes, you
straight.
did.
You said everybody coming across the border gets $450,000.
So the number was what you had a
The
problem with.
number I was referring to.
Bing, bing, bing.
Here's the thing.
Sure.
If in fact,
Now listen to this.
because of the outrageous behavior of the last administration,
Which is the same as yours and the guy before.
Legal,
No, it is not. Because there are no stories, fucko. Glenn Beck, you are a liar. You are a liar. That's what this is about. This is it. There are no stories from this administration or the last administration where children separated from their families have fucking disappeared. I honest to God, I don't want to hear any more pro-life bullshit from these assholes. They can't put these kids back with their parents. They don't know where they are, whether they're alive or not. Their parents still looking for the kids. They don't know where they are. That's what this is. These kids. By the way, the Biden administration put together a task force to reunite some of these folks, and some of them, they just fucking can't because the parents are dead. Or they just left. I mean, God knows what happened to them. Because they wanted their kid to survive, and they themselves did not. And so the Biden administration has found like 200 and some odd and reconnected them with their fucking parents. They're working with the Guatemalan government. They're working with Honduras. They're working with Mexico. They're trying to get these kids back with their parents. And some of them, it just ain't going to happen. And there's 2 people for every one of the ones they can't put back together, at least one that's more than likely looking for their goddamn kid. This isn't about everybody coming across the border, and the assertion that it is by Glenn Beck and Stu is a fucking lie. It's shameful. It's gross. They, and I was about to say they know better, but I'm not even sure they do.
And you lost your child.
Yep, here it is. Wait, he gets pissed about this.
That's administration.
Which is the same as yours and the guy before.
Legal or illegal, and you lost your child. You lost your child. It's gone. You deserve some kind of compensation.
Okay, all right, good. So you...
Right. Yeah, now, Glenn Beck doesn't think so. Glenn Beck thinks that if you're trying to get asylum or you're just running away or you're a woman with a baby in your arms and you get separated by the Trump administration, that baby just fucking disappears. You don't. And it's also, not only don't you deserve to be reunited with that kid, and if not, compensated to like help you look, just in case it got returned to somebody else and then they adopted it and then they find somebody else, and for years you spend that money looking for your fucking kid, whatever that is. Not only does Glenn Beck not think you deserve that money, but Glenn Beck thinks it's fucking funny that these kids are gone. You goddamn right it's something to be pissed about. Fuck you, Glenn.
Lost your child. You lost your child. That guy is unstable. That is.
Yeah, because that's totally unstable. Why would anyone get upset about a lost child? Why would anyone get upset about Trump not giving a fuck and losing children? That's unstable. Look at this asshole. Unstable, crazy would be not getting upset about that shit. It's fucked up.
A really unstable reaction.
And he looks worse than that.
Sorry, Stu. He what? I'm sorry. Why would anybody? Why would anybody get upset, Stu? Why would anybody start giving a fuck? Nobody did for the last 4 years. Not in your circles, not in Trump's circles. That's for goddamn sure. Fucking A right. That made me more of a Biden fan. And these fucking dweebs saying that somebody getting upset about that. And he's being specific. Not everybody who comes across the border, which is the sales point bullshit that Fox News is pushing, and so is Glenn, and so is Stu. But that it has to do with these lost children. And the last administration didn't give a shit about these kids. Even if you're going to kick them out of the country, you set up a system to return them to their parents. But they couldn't be bothered. It's a human response, and Glenn and Stu are showing their lack of humanity.
Oh, yeah.
Listening on radio.
That's a very unstable reaction. Okay, you lost your child.
Yeah, why do you care, Glenn? What difference does it make? Why would you be upset about that? Why?
Not a good weekend for him to point that out, because, you know, the child that we all have seen pictures lifted over the fence in Kabul and given to American soldiers has been lost by the United States government.
We lost their child?
We lost
No, it went back to the civilian side of the airport. We were not in charge of that. That was not our kid. That was not an American trying to get out. That went to the civilian side. It was given to Afghan soldiers to return to the family. It's not lost. We didn't track it because it's not our kid. Those people were leaving to go that way.
Child. Now, we have said over the weekend, we're going to do everything we can to find them. Oh, Okay, all right. So the child might be in
By
Afghanistan.
the way, where's the kid that was lost on, what was the kid who was on January 6th? Are we looking for it now? I blitzed on his name.
But most likely it's at one of 6 different countries. I'm sure you're not going to have a problem finding the infant. You lost your child. By the way, the mandate is.
By the way, in a war zone during an evacuation versus dicking around with no time scale. 545 kids separated, can't find them. Can't find the parents. Half of them can't find the kid. The parents are looking for him. The kid's just gone. There are 800 kids total. These are the ones that can't find parents. There's another 300 or some odd that the kid's gone. Parents are looking for him. We'll give them a benefit of the doubt that 20% of, or 20 or 30 of them overlap. So you're looking at 300 missing children. That wasn't during an evacuation. That wasn't during a speedy withdrawal from someplace. That wasn't with soldiers and a crush at an airport for people to get out. The Trump administration took their fucking time losing these children.
Not really now a mandate.
Caden, thank you, Sarah.
The president has flown 70 secret flights into Florida. Inflation has grown between 50 and 200% in the last year because on food prices.
Because no one was going anywhere and people are trying to make up profits from last year.
Gas prices are going to go through the roof.
Are they? Is that a headline? Is that a headline? Gas prices are going to go through the roof?
That was the weekend.
Was it? Because it looks like you're saying it's going to be next weekend. Here you go. Baby ended U.S. soldiers in chaos of Afghanistan. Airlift is still missing. In chaos of Afghanistan. So you're saying it was chaos at the border, and that's why you had to lose 800 kids over the course of months and months and months, or the 8,800 children they just dropped off without parents in Mexico. Those, we're not even counting those. That has nothing to do with anything. Just found. These are the ones that came across without their parents. Either coyotes dropped them or the parents ran off separately or something and left their own child. And the Trump administration just went, dropped them in cartel land. In a split-second decision, Mirza Ali Ahmadi and his wife, Soraya, found themselves and their 5 children in August 19th chaotic crowd when a U.S. soldier from over the tall fence asked if they needed help. Fearing their 2-month-old baby, Sohail, would get crushed in the melee, they handed him to the soldier, thinking they would get soon to rest, which was only about 60 feet away. But at that moment, which was swiftly taken over the country, they began pushing back hundreds of hopeful evacuees. It took the rest of the family more than a half an hour to get to the other side. Once they were inside, he was nowhere to be found. So he worked as a security guard, desperately asking every official where the baby's whereabouts were. He said a military commander told him the airport was too dangerous for a baby, and then he might have been taken to a special area for children. But when they got there, it was empty. He walked with me all around the airport to search everywhere. Said it. And recommended he didn't assume it. I spoke to more than 20 people. Every officer, military civilian I came across, I was asking about my baby. He said one civilian just spoke to him about Sahel might have been evacuated by himself. They said we don't have resources to keep a baby here. So the families handing their babies over the other families were handing their babies over the Kabul airport fence to soldiers. Yeah, it's going to take some time. Make sure it's your kid. Ever since his baby went missing, the dates are a blur. Every person he comes across, aid worker, U.S. officials, tells him about them. Everyone promises they will do their best, but they are just promises. Well, until they find them. Afghan refugees who created a missing baby sign with Sahel's picture on it. Soraya, who also spoke through a translator, said she cries most of the time and said other children are distraught. All I'm doing is thinking about my child. Everyone that is calling me, my mother, my father, my sister, they will come to me. Don't worry. God is kind. Your son will be found. Well, if the U.S. And by the way, the accusation in this situation from Glenn Beck is that our soldiers lost this baby under orders from Glenn Beck, or from Joe Biden. So Glenn Beck is saying that the soldiers, these soldiers, lost a baby because that's what Biden would have wanted. And he likes it. Look at the smile on his face.
That was the weekend. The good news.
No, the weekend was the infrastructure bill passed. We added 431,000 jobs and unemployment's down to 4.6%.
This is all coming undone. It's coming undone quickly. Oh, by the way, they passed the reconciliation bill. So they passed the last stimulus package. It's important to understand.
Hold on. Congressional Painted Rosy View this weekend. Prospect of swift legislation passed their 1.7 climate and social spending package. We'll pass it in the House. We'll pass it in the Senate. We'll get this job done. We're going to lead the world in tackling climate change. Meanwhile, another dilemma. House Democrats moderators said they would not support the reconciliation bill until it had received an official cost estimate. Taking tremendous gamble that the CBS score will be sufficient. And now working math, tighter deadline to resolve. They're putting tremendous trust in Biden's ability to convince Manchin Senate to support their larger spending package. They're talking about the chaos of last week. Biden's out, which culminated in a vote in the House on the bipartisan bill early Saturday morning. Alex took the Sunday talk show. What's your mind of the fact that Bill back under? We're talking about the largest investment in America. We're talking about cheer reconciliation vote. Of the prospects for swift legislative action. Yeah, we will pass it. It hasn't been passed. The main infrastructure bill passed when he said this, especially.
Why Omar and her people didn't vote for the bill? There's two reasons.
Yeah. So. Okay, two reasons. Here it is.
One, because there's a lot of weasel Republicans in Congress that allowed them to do it. How do these people survive in a primary? These people.
Well, they're not in Trump districts, and they actually want legislative wins on their record because they're not Trump ball garglers.
Need to be out next election, and we'll give you the list.
Yes, good luck with that.
But there's a bigger...
Please go ahead and attack them.
Why they didn't vote for it. And it should tell you everything you know, and it ties all of these stories together. Okay, so when you look at all of these things, you see that the FBI has...
Look at this book has Soros on the cover. Look at that. Super JOOOOOO.
On dark, you see the ATF is now obtaining gun records and digitizing them and making them.
So the fuck what? They're sales records from stores.
Permanent now. The IRS is spying. The mandate that's not really a mandate, but is a mandate.
No, it isn't. It's a testing mandate.
Payoff to people who came across the border from Biden because you lost your child.
Yeah, Glenn Beck doesn't give a fuck about a lost child.
The 70 secret flights into Florida.
I honestly, God, I thought there was going to be more to that. He's just mocking the idea that if you lost your child, fuck you.
Yeah. The inflation of gasoline prices. I'm telling you, you're going to be paying $5 a gallon. Easy.
Yeah, but that's you saying that. That's not a headline.
Everywhere in the country by the end of this first term.
We don't give a fuck. Get to the point.
When you look at all of these stories.
Yes, they're all tied together.
What do they all have in common?
The squad didn't vote for something.
They seem separate, but they're not. So let me tell you what happened to the reconciliation bill. Reconciliation bill passed, but none of the...
No, it didn't. The reconciliation bill did not pass. The bipartisan infrastructure bill passed.
Omar's voted for it. None of the squad voted for it.
Why? Because nobody did? Because it hasn't passed yet?
Why? Because they said without the Build Back Better passage.
Yeah, that's the reconciliation bill, dumb fuck.
If that bill doesn't pass, you have a key but no lock. They said they broke up the bills. And they broke up all the...
What do you mean they said they broke up the bill? They didn't break it up. It was negotiated that way. Nobody gets to demand either side. It's a democracy, dum-dum.
Structure and put half of it in one bill and the other half in the other bill.
Well, obviously, if one bill originally was 3.5 trillion and the other one was 1.5 trillion, that's not half, but I mean, we've seen you eat, so.
So it's a lock and key. So if you just pass the infrastructure bill.
Yes. So, sorry, which one is Zool and which one is Gozer or Vince Clortho?
But not the Build Back Better bill. You can't get everything done that you want.
Yeah, he's got both of them backwards. He's talking out of his ass.
I've been telling you for a while they're building it one piece at a time. Been telling you that. That's
What do you mean? Incremental change? Gee, it sounds like governing. What a dipshit.
exactly what she just verified over the weekend. Now, how does that tie into all of this?
I'm waiting with bated breath. We've all been wondering.
Because everything is one piece. The IRS spying on your bank is part of the ATF getting all of the information on guns.
How?
The
Say
ability
how.
for the FBI to use secret
How?
courts to spy on political enemies.
Fucko, you're just reiterating those points. You're supposed to give us, it's either the Great Reset or Agenda 69 or something like that. Asshole, give it something. What's the big Illuminati thing? We know what you've been saying the whole God damn it. We've been saying the same shit.
Is also all part of that. The secret flights into Florida, where they're not alerting anyone. 70 secret flights into Florida. These all are tied in to the destruction.
Wait, hold on. I have to. Yes, I got to get the fuck out of here. But hold on. Shit. What? Oh, migrants. I see. Florida governor. Okay. So, yeah. Florida governor says this. Well, it must have happened. Whatever. Florida governor says Biden administration has landed dozens of secret flights carrying illegal migrants into the state. Migrant families and unaccompanied children are mostly not being expelled via Title 42. Yeah, families and unaccompanied children. Now, I know that Glenn Beck wants those children dropped off in the fucking desert. But let's see. Flies unaccompanied migrants. Unaccompanied migrants? What the fuck? I'm sorry, do migrants have handlers now? It would be illegal migrants or unlawful migrants or whatever, but unaccompanied, you mean children in the dead of night. Former Buffalo Ice Field Director Tom Feely, former West Coast, is going to slam the decision by the administration, say it didn't want the public finding out about the flight. Over 70 air charter flights on jetliner airliners have come from the southwest border, landed in Jacksonville. The public safety czar told the Washington Examiner. On average, there's 36. 70 flights with 36 fucking people on them. On average. Now look at the picture. And then 36. And then look at the picture. And look at the headline. And then look at the word 36. And that has been going on over the course of the summer throughout September. Dear God, 70 flights. with nearly. Jesus Christ. We're in a sad situation trying to run an investigation. Who's facilitating the trial? How are they getting here? Who are the support people? Who are the sponsors? I don't know why there are Spanish people coming into the country. Why is this okay? Only been removing single adults and sections of migrant families under Trump Title 42 public health precautions. Unaccompanied children are moved into Health and Human Services care and united with sponsors across the country. Now I know that Glenn Beck wants them dropped off in the desert alone with no food. Because that's what Mormons want.
Of America. That is their goal, make no mistake.
Sorry, what? It was the what of America?
These all are tied in to the destruction of America. That is their...
Yeah, but how? How is that? How are flying children into Florida because you're not willing to dump them in? That makes us more of America than America. Yes, he's a Mormon. He's not organically Mormon. He wasn't born into that. He and his wife went religion shopping. I shit you not. And he chose Mormonism because you get to have, if you're a dude, you have your own planet after you die or some shit. Fucking hell, because this is part of the great. Yeah, at least put it in this new Great Reset coalition. We live in a banana republic. Fuck off with this garbage. Oh, God. All right, I went way over tonight. I appreciate you guys sticking around. I didn't do a morning show, so I felt bad. So we hung out a little bit longer. I appreciate you guys being here and taking a tour of the county jail with me and through the hollowed-out gourd that is the head of Glenn Beck and his absolute total disdain for children.